What's up, guys? Wanted to make a video about the overall economy and everything. I keep seeing this stuff popping up. Olympus is falling, and the economy's going to fall apart, and we can't get out of this and stuff like that. I'm going to give my thoughts. You guys are probably thinking, why is this guy all sweaty? This guy done hooping, man. Had to work these college hoopers over. They're going to be reporting soon to their colleges, and a lot of these young bloods, they got to respect, man. They don't have a bag this deep. We don't have these moves. Check the gram if you want to see some of the workout stuff, this, that, and the other. So what is going on with this economy? And this is one thing that a lot of people don't realize. It doesn't matter who is put in place of the United States. Nobody's going to be able to get us out of this. There's been way too much money printed. Way too much. I mean, yeah, that ain't going to work. In 20 years, everything is 3 times as expensive. And what I've noticed is kind of your base level factory job that you would go out there and work. Let's just say 20 years ago, they're paying $9 an hour. People were quitting hand over fist. 20 years later, let's say they're trying to pay 18, 19, 20 bucks an hour, let's say in the Midwest, but everything's 3 times as expensive. So you would actually have to make $27 or $28 an hour for it to be equivalent. And people were quitting hand over fist 20 years ago at, let's say, $9 an hour. So, and what I've noticed, if you look statistically in 1983, the average salary for someone who had a college degree was like $53,000 or $54,000 a year. 20 years ago, that was like, pretty solid if you got that paid 20 years ago. And now that's the average salary that somebody coming out of college is going to get now. So, essentially you're going to get paid the same as a college graduate did in 1983. And, obviously, like, there's some people trying different things. Some people are like not going to college. A lot of the guys are doing that. Now there's way more women in college than there are men. And then others are taking the approach of just continually being in college, get a bunch of master's degrees, get a PhD, just keep getting educated. So different people are trying to find their different route, and it's hard to tell everybody, what they should do. Because about the time you start telling them on that, everybody starts cluing in on that. Oh, you should do this. You really need to geomax, go to this area of the country, move overseas, do this, that, and the other. Then things change, the situation changes. So, and here's one of the reasons why it's not going to matter who gets elected president or who gets placed in the presidency or whatever, if this, these elections are rigged. So oil prices around $73, $74 a barrel. Well, you really can't really get back to $50 a barrel because it'll be below cost of production. So by about the time you do that, then, all these people are going to go out of business. All these companies are going to go out of business because there's only a certain amount you're going to pay them. You're not going to be able to pay someone like $15 an hour to work on an oil rig. That's just not going to work. And this is one of the things a lot of people don't realize kind of about the minimum wage. Most people really kind of, for the most part, aren't making minimum wage. There might be a few things that people are kind of doing, making minimum wage and stuff like that. But for the most part, people aren't getting paid, sitting out there getting paid, $7.15, $7.50, $8 an hour, just because people won't show up to work, for that. You even see it in the Midwest, even a lot of times with fast food, they pretty much got to pay $13, $14 an hour at this point to get people to show up for a lot of these fast food jobs. Now, the minimum wage, try to crank it up to $20 an hour for fast food workers, which in a lot of ways is ridiculous. But again, it's this push and pull. What is ridiculous? I mean, what's really ridiculous is how much money they've printed. You got about 50% of all US dollars that have ever been printed in the last 5 or so years. Let's just take it back 6. And there's just been this egregious spending. So at what point is this paper job going to blow up in everybody's face? Because 75 cents to every dollar of our tax money is being put towards the interest on all this national debt. Every taxpayer owes $266,000 at this point in the United States. When is that unsustainable? And at what point should you be like, you know what, this is busted, I'm out? Because just think of all the workers now. I'm not telling you guys what to do. I'm just saying all these workers now, and for a long time everybody's kind of known it, Social Security's not going to be around in the capacity that it is. So you're paying into Social Security, you're paying into this Ponzi, knowing you're not going to get anything back in 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. Now, I mean, we know kind of what's going to happen. They're going to sit there and say, well, okay, you can't withdraw until you're 70, or you can't withdraw until you're 75. Well, people are getting sicker in this country. You know, the life expectancy is not really kind of going up that much because, and I can attest to this, all the food is fake. It's getting worse. It's getting worse here. So what? People are supposedly going to, okay, now you're going to raise up, you're going to sit there and say, well, people aren't going to be able to withdraw until they're 70. How long are people going to live? You know, life expectancy, oh, okay, they're going to be able to draw for 5 years. So you had them put it in. You had them put money in for 30, 35, 40 years so that then, you know, they can withdraw for 5 years or something. I mean, that's not that great of a deal. And at the point that more and more people kind of realize that, at what point do they pull the plug, or do they just, you know that they're an NPC and they're just going to stay an NPC, or are they going to sit there and, you know, make moves to get out of that system, you know? So it's really hard to kind of mentor the younger generation. I was just talking to a kid that just actually graduated from high school, that, you know, it's very tough to like tell them what to do, because they kind of see, you know, especially with a lot of the online content and stuff like that, they see through it and they're just like, they're not too thrilled about the premise of working in a factory and having all their work kind of like really kind of eroded away, or their value eroded away for the next 30, 40, 50 years. And it's not the factory's fault per se, it's just hyper competitive out there, and they're dealing with the same, you know, cost increases, and they're lucky to stay in business themselves. And, you know, everybody's in quicksand. We're completely in quicksand at this point. And it's like, at what point, what are you going to get? What are you trying to do? And so I just think that the whole geo-maxing thing is going to become more and more important, whether that's within the United States or within Canada or within Mexico or wherever you're from, within Australia, or to different parts of the globe. Like, where are you going to have the least amount of friction where you're not swimming upstream? Well, everything kind of there, you know, it can swing like a pendulum. So to some respects, you could say a newer country with maybe a new currency that's not necessarily is debased as badly, or doesn't have as many military obligations, maybe they would be actually in a better kind of situation than we would be. And when I look at some of that stuff, you know, I kind of look at like a nation like Poland, for instance. It definitely seems like they're kind of an up-and-comer. Now, I think in a lot of these situations, if you geomax to a place where it's cheaper to live, you almost have to still extract yourself from the economy for the most part, whether that's some kind of online mechanism that you're trading, or you're working remotely, or you are kind of like distributing stuff, you're wholesaling stuff, or making money online, whether that's eBay, Amazon, or you're just doing some kind of e-commerce related stuff, that you're going to have to do all that to extract yourself from the economy. But we're not going to vote our way out of this thing, and that's, I think that's the toughest thing, the toughest pill to swallow, and we've known that for a while, because at some point you're not going to be able to restrict things. Like, if you cut out all this military spending, you cut out this, that, and the other spending and everything, we're going to see kind of the repercussions of that, like whether it's people work some kind of ancillary job and, you know, in the military industrial complex, whether that's with Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, that kind of stuff. So there's going to be kind of your everyday people. I used to live in Tucson, and so Raytheon is a big employer in Tucson, and you're going to kind of see those cutbacks, or like, you know, Davis Moffin's Air Force Base is in Tucson. So that's, you know, you're going to start seeing those cutbacks. And then there's people are going to start getting their pay, and then it's like that's going to kind of trickle through the economy and everything. So how do you kind of scale that back? Well, I don't see the birth rates turning around, and this is one of the big things that a lot of people, some people are talking about it. Obviously, Elon Musk has brought this up, and he's talked about it some and everything, but it is going to get way, 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 way worse than people think for multiple different reasons. Because of birth control, a lot of times they're putting, they're putting kids on birth control at 15, 16 years old. So you can say that's been a change over the last generation. That's happening more and more and more. Secondly, just kind of, I guess people have normalized abortions. I feel like more now than they would have in the past. I mean, there's some kind of like absurd percentages of women in the United States that have had abortions. So people just kind of normalize that more and everything like that. So the population is going to completely implode. Secondly, women are not impressed. They're not impressed that I just worked over these college hoopers. They ain't impressed. They ain't impressed with this car. They're not impressed with me. They're not impressed with you. I can tell you that right now. And so a lot of people, it's like you have fleeting traction. Be like, oh, well, that's you. Your game's busted. Well, just look at the statistics. They're already projecting that 50% of women that are 30 and above are going to be childless and unmarried in the year 2030. I think it's going to be more like 80%, because you just kind of see, and I talk to a lot of these guys that are maybe like they're in college, or they're 25, or they're 27, or 29, whatever. It doesn't matter how old they are. The fact of the matter is, a lot of them really aren't in relationships. They might actually have a good look. They got height on their side. They're built up. They're hitting the gym, all this and that. They're a good kid, whatever. And they're not really having a lot of success. Marriage rates are an all-time low. These birth rates are, obviously dipping. There's very few things that are saving us. Maybe the Mexican imports, maybe the Amish. They're kind of keeping our numbers up. And then obviously all this immigration, all these people have come across the border. That's the only reason the United States is actually going up. But you're not having a lot of people with wealth, foreign wealth and stuff coming into the nation, because there's not that good of a value. Why wouldn't you go to a place that's up and coming, whether that's like Poland, whether that's Croatia, it could be somewhere else. Montenegro is another place that I've looked at, where I feel like these countries, there's a lot more opportunity to invest. There's a lot more, like, it's on the up and up, it's on the come up. Argentina as well, they've actually went through, obviously some political changes and stuff like down there to try to cut off the inflation. And so, if the dollar goes further there, and you can kind of get that extra traction, that extra leverage with the US dollar, and make that jump, that's going to make the most sense. And I don't think people realize how many people are going to leave the United States, whether via retirement or kind of this, again, passport bros, or just kind of geomaxing in general. How much that's going to actually happen over the next 5 or 10 years. Because, again, why wouldn't you move to the coast of Spain, and live on the Mediterranean for 1/3 the cost that it would be in Florida, or Montenegro for 1/3 the cost that it would be in Miami? Just all these, it makes a ton of sense. And so, things are kind of played out here. What kind of value you're really getting in the United States? You're getting like contaminated water and fake food and all this and that. Now, you could obviously like carve out your own life. And, one of the areas in the United States that I do see some value, Marquette, Michigan, Little Rock, Arkansas, a few other places and stuff like that you could carve out maybe some value depending on what you're trying to do. But in general, just the U.S. population isn't very healthy. And I see this in kind of in the Midwest, like the small, like YMCAs, the small gyms. You got about 20 guys who have like a decent look, who are building up, putting in work in the gym, have a decent look, respect, all that kind of stuff, to about one chick that you would like actually take an extended look at. Then you have this single mom apocalypse scenario. So many kids actually, growing up in single family households, single parent households, and actually a lot of these small schools around, it might even have just 100 people per grade. dude, you're talking 80% of these people growing up in single parent households. And it's just like, things are just off the rails. Things are off the rails for multiple reasons. And these things are just kind of this, it's kind of a lot of the social issues and stuff that we're running into. It's just going to get worse in the next 20, 30 years. So I don't see the United States necessarily like going away. I just think it's just going to get worse in the next 10 or 20 years. And, if you're able to position yourself and not just get steamrolled by that, but for the most part, everybody's in quicksand. So, it's hard to tell them what to do. I know this from being up in Canada and being in Australia. On average, the women are hotter in those two places. They're just in better shape. I think that the food that they're eating is better. They're more apt to kind of keep up with conversations and stuff. But I don't think longevity-wise, you're into the same issue. You have this devalued currency in Canada and Australia, so you just run into the same thing in the United States. But I think, like, if you're from the UK, you could probably, like, do better if you went over to Australia, or if you're from Canada, you probably do better in Australia, or if you're from the United States, you probably do better in Australia or Canada, vice versa. You kind of have this, like, I don't know, you're kind of the same, but you're different, so you can kind of tap into that. But all that being said, what are you going to tell these young bloods out there? Keep working hard. It's just, when you really actually know it's just gotten worse. I was talking to a kid like this. I'll say he's a kid. He was 26, but he had been in the military. His car breaks down, and he was looking at, like, I don't know, it was like 2013 Chevy Cruzes, and he was just like, really kind of upset because he's like, man, it's like, I'm only 26 and this is all going to get worse. His car broke down. He blew her header gasket or something. And then basically he was looking at the same exact cars that, he had, and they were more expensive now than when he bought it like years and years ago. So he was just like, and then he realized, like, he's not actually making any money in his job. He's just in quicksand, dude. Everybody's swimming upstream, man. And it's just, I just think at the point, when does that get so bad that people just either give up? Obviously, there's been a lot of people give up. There's a lot of fentanyl zombies out there, a lot of meth heads. And, even the people that are going at it, man, they're just getting exhausted. So at what point does it actually make sense for them to go and be in a situation where they don't have so much friction in their life? Because, like, what are they trying to achieve? Just to even meet baseline 50 years ago is so much harder at this point, and you're not going to necessarily save yourself with a degree. But I would say one of the big opportunities is do something that's hard, that's manual labor. If you're a white guy, you're not meeting the diversity and inclusion kind of guidelines of a lot of these companies. You would probably be best off monetarily if you started up a company where you're doing, like, hard labor, and that's hard for people to do, whether that's plumbing or welding or roofing or doing those types of things. You're probably better off doing that, and I guess for a period of time you'd be ahead of the people who've racked up, let's say, all kinds of college debt. But at the end of the point, I just don't think that's going to be an ultimate solution. That might give you a 5 or 10 year runway. But I just think your best bet is actually to get out of the country until the pendulum swings back the other way. Real estate has collapsed. All these things have gotten worse. And then you can swoop in on maybe a bunch of empty properties and stuff. But again, it's all hypothetical. You go over to, maybe you're able to set up a life, overseas, or you buy one of these cheap homes in Japan, and maybe you're out there, street racing and stuff, and you're living Tokyo Drift, Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift or something, maybe for a period of time. Who knows, man? But where would you guys move in this world where you think that it's on the up and up, it's on the come up, and there's actual investment opportunity, and there's actual real value? Follow me on all social media at Brian Phobos, YouTube, Instagram, Steam, at Twitter, Hive, DTube, Blur, everywhere.